AI with Kai is brought to you by Harris Vacations. Family owned and operating on the Alabama Gulf Coast, they help homeowners maximize their rental income while delivering 5-star guest experiences. Learn more at ourgulfshoresvacation.com.
So yeah, fight back a little bit to get a better post. I think the small business takeaway there could be AI can help you turn the work you're already doing into content that people actually might want to read.
And I think that's the quote of the show, which is fight back to get better content.
Okay, I like
that has a t-shirt written all over it.
This is AI with Kai. Practical AI for real business leaders. We break down what matters, talk with people using AI in real businesses, and share one idea you can use right away.
It's another great day to talk about AI. I am your host, Kai Gray, and you're listening to AI with Kai.
Kai, welcome back. We did have to skip a week because you've been a little under the weather.
Last week was a rough one for me. And I will share a picture on social media, but I want all listeners to be warned. It's not pretty.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to host a podcast when you can't open and close your mouth.
Yeah. I had an allergic reaction to something, I'm not sure what, which caused my whole mouth to swell up and my throat to close. So I got to spend some time in the ER. But many thanks to the wonderful doctors and nurses at Thomas Hospital here in Fairhope who got me home safe and sound.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're safe, Kai.
The Rundown. 5 AI stories you need to know right now.
First up, Robinhood opens its platform to AI agents. So if you ever wanted AI to spend money on your behalf, now is your opportunity. If you're a Robinhood account holder, you can get a virtual credit card, which is tied to your real credit card, just to be very clear, and use non-virtual money to make trades on your behalf. So this is an excellent way to lose a lot of money or to make some money. I don't want to be too negative about it, but there's going to be some wild stories about this.
Surely you could put a cap on there.
Yeah,
right.
Like, there's a ton of guardrails.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is Visa and MasterCard have both announced different agentic sort of credit card offerings to let agents book hotel rooms or to buy different products. There are a ton of guardrails, so it doesn't just go haywire and start buying everything. But undoubtedly, we're gonna hear some horror stories. Next up, Google's biggest search redesign in 25 years. So Google had their big I/O event a little earlier this month, and as expected, it was nothing but AI announcements. And these have started to roll out. If you're a Google user, and I assume that's all of us, you will now see a new AI mode powered by Gemini front and center. So we're all getting used to Google results being fairly AI influenced. They're now making that very explicit in the UI. Where this is really important for businesses is that it really, really hammers home the idea that search as we know it is going away, and it's really about AI. So if your product is not tuned for AI inclusion, you're going to be losing out. So if you're thinking only about SEO, you're thinking about this wrong. You have to start thinking about how to be included in AI results. It's as important as any marketing initiative you've done. Next up, and this is a huge one, Anthropic just released Opus 4.8. It is a precursor to Mythos. So Mythos is this model that came out about 2 months ago that Anthropic deemed to be so powerful that they could not release it to the public. It went into sort of a private sandboxed project called Project Glasswing. In essence, Mythos was so good at finding software vulnerabilities that they really worried that if it got into the wrong hands, it could lead to really bad things. That has caused all sorts of conversations at government levels, at large enterprise business levels. And everyone's been wondering if Mythos was going to come out. So Anthropic released Opus 4.8, hot on the heels of its previous release of Opus 4.7. And with that release, they said that Mythos will be released to the public within the next coming weeks. I fully expect it to be a dumbed down version, that they're not going to release the thing that has been finding vulnerabilities in every software that we know about, but we can expect it to be very powerful. I will say I started using Opus 4.8 for some coding projects, and it's fantastic. It's really, really good. So it's definitely different than 4.7, has a different feel about it, but it was able to do things that 4.7 just couldn't do. So that's just going to be a big story that's going to dominate the news for the next little while. Anthropic is now the most valuable startup in the world. They surpassed OpenAI for that just this past week in terms of valuation. But sort of continuing with the all Anthropic all the time, Anthropic launched their Claude for small business. So this is really important, especially for us who have small businesses who are using Claude. This is a package of connectors and ready to run workflows inside of Claude Cowork. So if you're not using Claude Cowork, I strongly suggest you check it out. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's well worth your effort. So spend some time, Google it. There's a lot of resources on how to use Cowork, but it's basically a more defined version of their general chat. It can do more agentic things, meaning that it can work on its own in different ways. But the new Claude for small businesses is meaningful because it integrates with a lot of things, right? It integrates with QuickBooks, PayPal, HubSpot, Canva, DocuSign, Google Workspace, Office 365, and the list goes on and on and on. So basically, everyone is getting in on the Claude for small business game right now.
The Spotlight: How real businesses are using AI.
A question that I get frequently when I tell people about the AI with Kai podcast is people want to know, is it made with AI? In fact, that's the number one question I get. And we've talked a little bit about this before, but today we are turning the interview inside out in a way, because our guest is none other than our producer, Tim Scott.
Hey, Kai.
I'm very excited to talk to you about AI and how you use AI to produce our podcast.
So kind of how the sausage is made.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
The podcast sausage. It's a great name for a podcast, too. Let's take a quick step back and talk a little bit about sort of how you got into producing podcasts, how you got here to Fairhope, sort of your journey here, and then maybe we'll go into how you're using AI currently.
Okay.
You grew up in Northern Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
You moved to Nashville as a producer, audio engineer, musician.
And I finished school there in the music business, and I started producing national radio shows.
Oh, cool.
And to answer your original question, how did I kind of get into podcasting? Well, I produced national radio shows for over 20 years, which is similar to podcasting.
Yeah.
You just have music in there.
Okay.
And so I worked with...
not talk radio, but
yeah.
FM music.
Yeah, remember this is Casey Case, America's Top 40. That's a national syndicated show.
Got it.
So I worked on a lot of different shows like that. One in particular was called New Music Nashville. It was tied into Walmart back in the day when you went to Walmart to buy CDs.
Cool.
I did that for many, many years. And then I'd worked with a brand called Trim Healthy Mama for 7 years. They were based in Nashville. They had a really popular podcast. I mean, it was number one in 2019 on Podbean.
In college, my nickname was Trim Healthy Mama. So that's shocking.
Really? And then when Apple Music built a studio in Nashville, they hired me to come in and get the radio station going. So I worked with all the artists and put together radio shows and content for the platform.
For their country music radio station.
Yeah, pretty much everything I was doing in my career, you know. After that was going, I got moved over to the LA division. So I started working with content all over the globe. So Australia, Canada, London, LA. One of my favorite projects I ever worked on was Huey's 80s Radio. So I got to work with Huey Lewis.
That's very
I grew
cool.
up in the 80s.
Yeah, totally.
Back to the Future was one of my favorite movies. So that was like, it was fulfilling.
So you're working for Apple Music, dealing with content globally.
Yeah, and I'm remote. I'm fully remote. So enter Fairhope. My wife has always wanted to get back down to the coast. She felt a little landlocked in Nashville. And when she thought there was a chance, it was like, that's it. Next thing I know, I'm in the car with a real estate agent driving around Fairhope.
When we first met, it was at an LAAI event. And you were telling me the story, basically how Apple had transitioned to AI for their radio stations. And there was this, weird juxtaposition between, being maybe displaced by AI and then being at an AI meetup talking about how to use AI, which I always thought was very interesting, and also a very relatable story for, I think, a lot of people, which is who have gone through or are going through or will go through a similar thing. I think the way you handled it was a lot better than I think a lot of people handle it. Like you actually kind of jumped in, as opposed to you had every opportunity to be super bitter about AI, resentful, stuff like that. I'd never known you to be any of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I was, you're right. The Apple gig came to an end after about 5 years. It was just like a switch that cut off one day. And I was bitter about it for about a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was a week. And then I started using AI, but I thought I could bring 5 ways I use AI in my workflow.
Okay.
And maybe there's some nuggets in there that small business owners can take away.
I love that.
The first thing I wanted to talk about, I had a client. He had already recorded a whole season of podcast. And I actually find this happens quite a bit. So, somebody gets excited about doing a podcast. They're off to the races, but they're not really thinking about it from a producer side or a listener side about, like, is there some organization to the content? Is it interesting? Like, all of that stuff. What I did was I took 12 hours of content, dropped them in AI. I made transcripts of them. Once I had it in there, I could kind of make sense of it. So what's this guy talking about? What are some reoccurring themes? How can we make sense of it? I mean, that would have taken hours.
Yeah.
It would have taken days, actually.
Well, you would have had to listen to at least 12 hours.
And make notes along the way, know?
Right.
And then once I had all the notes, try to figure out, well, let me go back to page 1 and figure out what he's talking about here. And does that, oh, wait, he mentioned that on page 12 over here. So with AI, it's a matter of 2 minutes, Once I get those transcripts made, I drop it in and I start asking questions like, how can we make this make sense? Okay, so there's a theme going on. He likes to talk about this. Why don't we make this a recurring segment in each episode? Things like that.
That idea of dropping sort of text files into AI to develop themes is probably very applicable for a lot of companies, right? Particularly around marketing, I would say.
Yeah. So I think the small business takeaway here could be AI can help organize messy information, like meeting notes, customer feedback, sales calls, or long email threads.
Yeah.
The second thing that I wanted to talk about was creating show notes and episode packaging. So you have your podcast episode all edited and you upload it to the platform. That's where it sends it out to like Apple, Amazon Music, and Spotify, and you have show notes that go along with it. Once the episode is edited, I will make another like transcript out of that.
Okay.
Drop it in AI. I've kind of trained it on how I think the show notes should be, So like, this is how I want the title to be. This is how I want the show notes to be. And this is how I want the episode thumbnail title to be. And so it'd just create that.
That's how you get those to me so fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
So it will scan the transcript. It will pull out any meaningful quotes, which might be lacking this week.
I think we're going to have all meaningful quotes this week. This is just going to be chock full.
Links, So if I mention a specific link, anything interesting, hey, Kai, you need to check out this book that I read or this website, it'll pull that out and drop it in the show notes.
That's very cool.
So people that are listening, can kind of follow along, find something. Oh, Kai mentioned that website. Oh, here it is. I can just click it.
Yeah. What's the AI that you're using for that? Is it Claude or ChatGPT or?
Mostly ChatGPT. I have been using Claude more since we've been doing the podcast. Grok some. But I find for the show notes for podcasts and stuff, ChatGPT does a really good job.
Yeah, that's one of the areas where I agree that ChatGPT does a very good job in, I would say, sort of almost transactional type things where you want a literal, non-necessarily, you're not looking for a creative thing. You're looking for an accurate thing. And I think ChatGPT really excels at that.
All right. So here's one I think that a lot of business owners can relate to. I use AI to help turn episodes into better LinkedIn posts.
Oh.
Instead of just saying new episode is out, AI helps me find useful quotes, lessons, or ideas from the episode that can become stronger social posts. I like to use it to create posts that teach something first and then promote the episode later. So instead of saying,
I love that.
Go check out the episode, here's what we learned this week. Or here's what Kai talked about that's useful,
Gosh, this whole time I thought you were listening to the podcast and really, really pulling out these insightful moments.
Well, I told you, see, the sausage is being made. Now everybody knows the secret. Don't always accept the first thing it throws out at you. I like to push back a little bit on my AI. So it'll give me a post and it'll be good. I like to try to make it better. Look at what it offered up the first time, and then I'm thinking, it could be better. What about that quote that you put down at the bottom of the post? Like, what if we started with that? Because that caught my eye. And then,
this is you talking to ChatGPT.
Yeah, this is me talking to ChatGPT. And as usual, it'll say, well, Tim, you're absolutely right. Why didn't I think of that? So, fight back a little bit to get a better post. So I think the small business takeaway there could be AI can help you turn the work you're already doing into content that people actually might want to read.
And I think that's the quote of the show, which is fight back to get better content.
Okay, I like
that has a T-shirt written all over it. We talk a lot about this idea of iteration and sort of having much more of a conversation with AI and not just stopping at the first reply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So the fourth thing I wanted to talk about is I use AI voices for podcast intros, outros, some ads, and production elements. And businesses could use the same approach for like social ads, phone answering system, videos, things like that.
That's right. So the person that introduces this podcast, in fact, is AI.
Mm-hmm.
That was my son's first comment when he heard the first episode. He said, Dad, that's AI. I was like, yes, son, it's a show about AI.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, this is the one place where I feel like I actually can let a little bit of the AI voice slip through because it is an AI podcast. And that was all by design. Most of the time, I try my best to hide the AI voice because I want it to sound like, we went out and hired a professional voice guy.
Right.
I was in a situation where I was editing a podcast for somebody and they had a guest on. The guest really misspoke on some information that was important. I think it was like an event that was happening and he said the wrong date,
Yep.
And there was no way to get him back in the studio. And
fascinating.
And it was like the whole reason for doing the podcast was to promote this event, and he gave the wrong date. And so, and by the way, I wasn't recording that, or I would have caught that. But it was something that was sent to me. So, using AI, I can clone the voice and change and get the correct date.
That's
and
a great
it fixes
use case.
that problem, and I can do that in about 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
And so just think about the hassle that saved a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not saying you should go clone voices and make stuff up, but that was
definitely not without permission.
And I definitely got permission to do that. So the AI voices just opens up so many new possibilities.
Yeah. Well, I think it allows businesses or small businesses to get sort of that high quality voiceover actor, quote unquote, for something that's in their budget for the first time ever.
Yeah. Another way I use AI recently is building a custom internet radio station.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. What's the radio station?
Well,
shameless plug here.
It's called countryviberadio.com. I had thousands and thousands of songs on a hard drive. And I just thought, why not make a radio station?
This is great.
A streaming radio station.
Yeah, I'm on the site now. This is beautiful.
Yeah. And by the way, I used Claude to build the site.
Well, Claude did an excellent job.
Yeah.
This is very cool.
A little back and forth. It took like 30 minutes.
That's amazing. Countryviberadio.com. Everyone should go check this out. Very cool.
And by the way, Tim did vibe code that site. And I think the reason that I never really approached this project before AI was because it was just a daunting task to feel like I could sort through thousands of songs.
Right.
Just to give you an idea, out of the 2,000 songs, I think about 600 of them are on the actual station.
Okay.
If you're going to do a proper streaming internet radio station, they require you for licensing to have like all of that metadata filled out properly. And so thinking about entering 600 tags is not appealing to me, but using AI, it was pretty painless. I mean, I feel like I turned about a month project into a couple of days.
That's great.
Yeah. It also helped me kind of create the vibe of the station. Like I put in a bunch of parameters that I wanted, and it picked up on that pretty quick. And so I could just throw in my 2,000 songs, and it pretty much was like yes or no on each song. So I didn't have to sit there and think about it or listen to it.
It acted almost as a producer.
Yeah.
Right. Or like an editor of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool.
If you think about it, if you have to listen to just an intro and maybe half of a verse of 2,000 songs, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so, like
100%.
I know a lot of those songs. I already know them, and I may know whether they fit the station or not. But there was some I was like, oh, I don't remember that one, and I'd have to listen to it. So that took a lot of the time out of it. So small business takeaway there, AI can help organize large libraries of information and speed up repetitive decisions.
That's very cool. I think it's cool that, you have all this domain experience in something, and you were able to take that domain experience and then very quickly build something that you would have otherwise, again, in the olden days, being 3 years ago, maybe not have been able to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of these great sort of combinations of you have a lot of domain experience, and now you have the sort of the technical capabilities to make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is. It's live, and I'm looking at it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think just to kind of wrap all this up, earlier you mentioned how I wasn't bitter about losing my job at Apple to AI. And as we kind of talked through all this, I realized I'm able to do a lot of stuff because of AI. So in a way, I think there's a lesson there for anybody that might be a little nervous about AI. It might take something from you, but I found that I gained a lot of skills that I couldn't do before.
Yeah. Well, as predicted, this has been fascinating. I knew it would be. I knew you were resistant to doing this. Your whole story about what you've learned from AI and your takeaways, because they're very applicable to, I think, a wide degree of people.
Thanks for pushing me out of my comfort zone.
This episode is brought to you by Harris Vacations. If you own a rental property on the Gulf Coast, they handle everything: marketing, bookings, cleaning, maintenance, and guest experience, so you don't have to. And if you're planning a trip, they offer a wide range of homes across Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, and Fort Morgan. To learn more or browse available properties, visit ourgulfshoresvacation.com.
The Playbook. One practical way to use AI right away.
Today, I want to talk about deep research. Deep research is a setting within all of the desktop AI apps that allows you to conduct, as the name appropriately says, a deep research report. So I do this across different platforms. So if I am trying to learn about something, or if I'm trying to write a paper on something, the first place I'll go is to deep research. And so, in fact, the workflow for me is I go to Claude and I say, I'm writing, let's say, a paper on X subject. Help me craft a deep research prompt. Deep research prompts are more comprehensive than our day-to-day prompts. So Claude will ask me a bunch of questions about what I'm trying to research, the angles and perspectives that I want, and then it will help construct a very comprehensive prompt. I will then use that prompt across Perplexity, OpenAI, Gemini, and Claude to run a deep research report. And so when you're in the desktop apps, you will see a setting for deep research. It'll either be under the plus sign. In fact, I think it's under the plus sign in almost all of them in your prompt setting, where you can select deep research. And it's called deep research on all of them. There's not a different name for them. And they all operate a little bit differently. But in essence, what they'll do is go out there and they'll pull hundreds and hundreds of sources. And it'll take anywhere from 5 minutes to 25 minutes. So it's not something that you're going to sit there and watch work. You want to sort of set it and let it notify you when it's done. And what you'll get back is this very comprehensive sort of graduate level report on something. At that point, I'll have 4 of these things. And what's interesting is all of them come back with a sort of slightly different perspective. They'll find different sources. I will dump all of those reports into one large file. I will then give that file to one of the AIs. It's usually Claude for me, but it could be ChatGPT, with the instruction to merge them into one comprehensive document. And what it allows it to do is basically cherry pick the best from each of those reports, and you end up with this really stellar, well-cited report on the thing you're trying to learn about. And where I find it really helpful is when I'm trying to write a piece, let's say a 1,000-word piece, or let's say a blog article or something like that, I will ultimately start out with something that's, 10,000 words. And, the way you get a good 1,000-word blog piece is to start with a 10,000-word report and condense it down, because at the end of that exercise, you're going to get a very well-constructed, well-sourced, well-written document that would take, hours, days, weeks to do on your own. Just finding the sources would be nuts, right? Because it'll come up with 500 sources for something. I can tell you for sure, I'm not coming up with 500 sources for anything, period. So I encourage everyone to try out deep research if you haven't already. If you do use it, try it on each of the different platforms and consider that technique of merging them into one and trying to then sort of condense them down. I think you'll be happy with the results. Well, that's a wrap for this episode. I want to thank Tim Scott for being our guest and producer.
Thanks, Guy.
A really Swiss Army knife guy. And I want to thank everyone for listening and for the emails and the encouragement. We love it. We love doing this show. Thanks to everyone for listening.
You're listening to AI with Kai. For more episodes, practical tools, and business insights, Visit aiwithkai.com. Follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with someone building a business on the Gulf Coast.